Hello, happy Sunday. It is Sunday, July 10th. My name is Stacy. Welcome to Reads of an Apple, and today I am going to be starting my Hockey Champions Readathon vlog. It starts today. Up above there's my announcement video if you have not heard about it. This is the first readathon I've created and am hosting, and I'm hoping at least one person will join me in reading. And it doesn't have to be hockey romance, as you can tell from my stuff, but it's easier to fulfill prompts, and there's like bonuses if you read a hockey romance. Like a hockey romance will cover any prompt, whether it fits it or not, kind of a thing. So I'm trying to get people to read hockey romance, but I started this because my team, the Colorado Avalanche, won the Stanley Cup this year, but what better way to celebrate than doing something I love, which is reading. So I decided to do a reading vlog for it. Now, I had planned to read some books, some book club books before the readathon started, and I ended up not doing so, but that's okay. Like I said, it doesn't have to be hockey romance. It's just easier to meet prompts if I do read hockey romance. But the first book I have picked up is Ilona Andrews' Sapphire Flames. I'm reading this as a part of the Hidden Legacy read-along, but this will also work for prompts here. But before I really talk about what's going on with this, here is my bingo board before I get ahead of myself. And as you can see, I have my iPad over here where I have it saved. Okay, so just a quick rundown. There are 3 prompts that every bingo board will have: the GM, the coach, and the cup. This is a create your own roster bingo board. So I had where I created prompts for all of the forwards, almost, well, not all, but most of the ones on the roster during the playoffs. I created prompts for all of our forwards, all of our defensemen, and the 3 goalies. And then you can choose which prompts you want. So you're creating your starting lineup. So for myself, I chose for my forwards Landeskog, who is our captain, LOC, who's Logan O'Connor, and then McKinnon, who's Nathan McKinnon. For defensemen, I chose EJ, which is Eric Johnson, also known as the Condor, and I chose Devon Taves. For goalie, I chose Darcy Kemper. So there is that. Each of them all have their own set of prompts, as well as each of them also have their jersey number associated with them. And to check out all the different ways you can fill the prompts, definitely check out the video I popped up before. But this book will probably count for GM, and I know for sure it would count for LOC as fan favorite author, because a lot of people love Ilona Andrews, but I'll kind of wait until I get to the end and see if it might fulfill one of the more unique prompts. But like I said, first book I picked up, Sapphire Flames. I am on page 214, the beginning of chapter 10, just over halfway through. I chose one of my pretty Japanese bookmarks, and then there's the other side, so it's different artwork on both sides. It was the purple ribbon, even though this is like the blue and purples, I thought it kind of fit. But I am super enjoying this. This is the first book in Catalina's trilogy, so that her books are 4, 5, and 6. I am loving this so much. I mean, are you surprised? I love Ilona Andrews, but I am really enjoying her voice and just the way that she does things, because it's very different than Nevada. And she has, I don't know if insecurities is too strong of a word, but she does have internal doubts at least. And, you know, she has to kind of force herself to put on like a stern face at times and pretend that she's haughtier than she is to kind of have people answer her questions and things like that. And I'm just really enjoying it. Alessandro has popped up, which I did not know, but during the last live show in the read along, they did mention Alessandro's who she was going to be paired with, and I was like, wait, what? Oh my gosh, I am loving this. I don't know what's going on with him. This is crazy, but she had a crush on him because he's kind of like a heartthrob dude. And I'm loving this. I am loving this. So what happened is, Runa, I think is how to say her name. We met her during the novella Diamond Fire, which is 3.5 in the series. This is book 4 in the series. I can't remember if I said that or not. But her type of magic is like all about poisons. And her mother and younger sister were badly burned in a fire. She was away at college and gets called home. House is gone, nothing but ashes. Her mom and her mom and sister were identified by dental records, which is weird in the first place because all Prime users are like genetically tested, because the way that matches work for most people is they pair people up romantically, I guess, based on their genetics and how compatible it is, because for a lot of the houses the goal is to be with someone who has the best chance of your magic being passed down to your children, and have them be a high level magic user and not something low. So it's like super crazy, and it sounds probably more confusing than it is, but I am very much enjoying this. She is now head of House Baylor. There is a time jump. It's about 3 years later. Their grace period of becoming a house is starting to end. Nevada and Rogan are actually overseas in Europe somewhere for his grandfather's funeral. I think it's his grandfather. So they aren't really around. Catalina does talk to Nevada on the phone a couple of times at this point. Maybe it's just the once. But I'm just really enjoying the way that she does it, because yes, she's following the same like rules that they set up as Baylor Investigations, but she just has a different feel about the way that she does things, and I'm just really enjoying her. And I don't know, she's a little more endearing to me than Nevada. Like, I love Nevada and I loved Connor, don't get me wrong, but just that little, she is more open about her doubts and just about the nerves about her kind of magic, because she's a siren, and when she shows her wings, she basically gets people to fall in love with her and they'll want to do anything for her. But it's also can be very dangerous, because when people get like obsessed with her, if it's not like cut off and the magic drained from them, like it becomes like weird, creepy, stalkerish, where they want pieces of her hair, and then they want pieces of her fingers, and then they want to rip her to shreds because they want to worship her blood. And it just like, it's really scary for her. And her entire life, she's like, while everybody is taught to allow their magic to flourish, she has always had to keep her magic trapped away. And they talk about when she was a baby, her magic was already so strong. One of the like NICU nurses tried to take her and run away, and so she's always had to, and she's like a book learner. Like whenever something stresses her out, she'd mention some cases that Nevada has had where she just like stresses out, so she'll read all she can because she likes to try to get all the information beforehand. And I don't know, I'm just really loving Catalina, and who knows what's going on with Alessandro. He definitely puts off that he's like this Instagram playboy Italian. He's he's super rich. All the girls love him. Like think Harry, Prince Harry, where it's just, but not as like royally restricted. And you know, there's like fan clubs to him, and every teenage girl was in love with him, including Catalina. And I don't know, I'm just really enjoying them. And now he's like a secret assassin, so I'm like, what is happening here? I don't know, it's just, I'm just really enjoying it, and I'm really intrigued to see where this case is going to take us, and if it's going to deal with the conspiracy that was going on in the first 3 books. But I'm just loving it, and I'm loving that we're getting more of Runa and her family, and we're getting, I don't know, we're getting more of the family, and you know, it's 3 years later, so everybody's kind of grown up a little bit more, and Arabella's taking more of actions in the family business, and she's kind of allowed to do more, and I'm enjoying this so much. I love Ilona Andrews. This is so fun, and I am just loving being with Catalina because she is really, really just, I'm really able to connect with her. And not that I couldn't connect with Nevada, but there's something about Catalina that's just, like I mentioned, so endearing, and just, she just feels a little more like internally deeper, or at least she's like the way that she's written, the reader sees more of her like internal issues than what Nevada had. Not that Nevada didn't have her issues and we didn't really get to be in her. I don't know. I just feel like we're more deeper into Catalina, but maybe it's because I can relate to her doubts and insecurities more. I don't know, but I am enjoying this, and I'm excited to see her and what happens with her and Alessandro. So even though I meant to read this before the readathon started, I'm a-okay that I'm reading this for the readathon and for my read-alongs. It's Ilona Andrews. I mean, I just don't know why I kept putting it off, but you know, sometimes when my mental capacity says, no, we're not going to read right now, we're going to do other things, I just need to go with it and not force myself to pick up reading a book, even though I know I'll probably love it, because I don't want to put myself into a reading slump, especially right before the freaking readathon. So this is a great book to kick it off with. I cannot wait to finish it. I'll probably finish it tonight because I cannot put down Ilona Andrews books, especially as I know we're gonna get all crazy at the end. But yeah, so that is where I'm at. And that, I think, is all I have for you right now. So I will be back. I don't know if it'll be later tonight or if it will be tomorrow, but I will be back to update you once I have finished Sapphire Flames, and then I will be picking up Emerald Blades next. I already know that. I have to read those 2 this week, and then I will get on my TBR. I did have on my TBR video also, I'll pop that up above if you want to see that. I am planning on reading the audiobook for Persuasion this week for a bonus Drake Appreciation Society, and I know that one will cover at the very least Landeskog Square, because the hero character is Captain Wentworth, who is the leader, so that would cover Landy's prompts. And then I also planned on reading at the very least Pipe Dreams of the Brooklyn Bruiser series by Sarina Bowen, but I was hoping to read Pipe Dreams and Brooklyn Air. Will I read 5 books this week? We shall see, but I have till Sunday, so I have the rest of today plus this week plus all next weekend, so we will see what happens. But I hope you enjoy coming on this journey with me. Hopefully I'll try to keep my talking points short and sweet, but who knows, I like to ramble. So I will see you all when I have read more and hopefully finished Sapphire Flames. See you soon. Hello, happy Monday. I'm here to update you because last night I finished Sapphire Flames by Ilona Andrews. Oh my gosh, this book was so freaking good. 5 stars. I love Catalina. And this like push-pull between her and Alessandro is so freaking great. As soon as I start talking, she wakes up. My goodness. Hi. So good. I loved it. I could not put it down. It got super crazy. So let me just kind of take a peek here. So what we found out is there is Runa's little sister is alive and kidnapped, and she was basically taken in by a like crazy science magic person and by this investors building who's actually a team of assassins, and oh gosh, they stole some of the Osiris serum, which is what created magic in the first place in, I want to say, the 1800s. And they are using it to create magic warped beings that can use magic. Oh my gosh. There was a scene where one crawls into the window, which used to be Nevada's window, and their warehouse is like half destroyed now, and it broke my heart. But seeing Catalina's, not just her use her magic, but the way that she's able to manipulate arcane circles, she is definitely a lot more learned in that section, because she read a lot of books, and she really had to learn how to contain her magic, where Nevada was more just happy to kind of leave it as a passive thing, and she didn't quite understand what it was her magic was. Catalina was different, because she constantly had to tamp down and decrease her, what was she like, she couldn't let any of her magic leak out. And so she is definitely a lot more learned. But this is also 3 years after Diamond Fire, the novella. And she did spend quite a bit of time training with Mad Rogan's mother. So I'm sure she got a lot of training there as well. But Catalina is such like a cinnamon roll badass, would be how I call it. I just love her. I love her to death. And she is now Linus. I think it's Linus. Maybe it's Linus. I can't remember his name. He's like the big, like, most powerful dude in Houston. He is a warden, and he's who told her about what happened with the Osiris serum. And this is like very neat, like highly top classified. And she becomes his deputy warden to learn this information. And then he like, she's like, I can't not, like, I understand I can't share everything, but I can't just say nothing to my family. So then technically they subcontract Baylor Investigations, and then he temporarily hires Alessandro as her bodyguard so he can be in on it too. Oh my gosh, and I am so excited to see what she's going to be doing as the deputy warden in the next book, because holy crap. And so they were able to find one serum, and there are 4 more left, I think is what he said in the epilogue, or at the end of the book. I don't know, he left her a voicemail that was like, good job, 1 out of 4 or something like that, and I'll see you sooner. I love it. I love it. Now, Alessandro is pushing Catalina away for some stupid reason. So it seems like he's getting revenge or something like that, because the epilogue is him talking with his sister. So I'm intrigued to see because he's very mysterious and won't talk about himself. So I definitely want to know what's going on with him. And then there was a point where Catalina makes a deal with their paternal grandmother, who is the Tremaine, and she's the one where like all of their magic passed down from, pretty much. And in exchange for information that she has, because she needs to go to Augustine and she needs to trade him really good information for him to give her the location of this lab where the little sister is being held, and now Alessandro, because he accidentally got teleported there. And it was like this big whole crazy thing. And she makes a deal with her grandmother that if and when she gets married, it's kind of assumed she will be getting married, that whoever she marries, she will not marry into their house. She will stay head of house, and he will like forego his house and join hers. So it'll be like the man taking Baylor as his last name kind of a thing. And my heart was breaking, because what she knows about Alessandro, and he hasn't opened up to her, so what she still thinks about him, which I know this is going to turn, because I know they're going to get their HEA, so it's going to have to be either the promise gets broken or the deal gets broken somehow, or he does give up his Sagredo. I don't know. I'm not Italian. He has to give up his family line, but he's technically a count, and they're one of the oldest, like, houses ever, kind of a thing. So it's, I don't know. And then he broke her freaking heart, and all she wants to do is just help him. She's just like, just tell me why you were stuck in this assassin type role, and I will help you. I will do what I can. And he just will not open up to her. Oh my gosh, Catalina. And it's, I can't, man. This book made me cry. This book made me laugh. I am loving everybody grown up a little bit. Arabella is still kind of a brat, but she's a lot more mature, but she still has like those bratty tendencies, which as the youngest sister I can see. And Leon cracks me up, and Byrne is getting, I feel like there might be something between Byrne and Runa. I couldn't quite tell if they were kind of getting paired up or if they were just becoming friendly or what, but Leon cracks me up too. So I love this book. I love Ilona Andrews. And I will have to say, as much as I loved Nevada and Mad Connor's trilogy, Catalina has my heart, man. She just, and she pretty much sacrifices herself, and she knows that it could potentially kill her, but she knows that she has to do this to get close to break the magic circle that the big bad guy was doing. And then that way Alessandro could break the arcane circle he was in and then nullify this dude's magic. And I was just like, oh my god, Catalina, and her wings were getting shredded, and I was just like, oh my baby. Man, if you have not read Ilona Andrews, I highly, highly recommend her. Especially Hidden Legacy, man. And like I said, I loved Nevada and I loved Connor, but I don't think I fangirled quite as hard over them as I did over this book. Holy cow. They just upped their game with every word, and I love it. 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 So, what I used this for was for Logan O'Connor's Square as a forward. And so he is either the number 25 fan favorite author or a character that goes fast. And so I'm going to use this as fan favorite author. Now, next, I need to read Emerald Blaze, which is book 5. So I will be picking this up tonight. However, there is also a 4.1 short story that's free on Ilona Andrews' website. And I will be reading that as well. It's called A Misunderstanding. I'm not sure if I'm going to count it for my readathon. It depends on what the stats and how long it are. But I definitely will be reading that before I pick up Emerald Blaze. But I probably won't talk about it until I have some stuff to talk about for Emerald Blaze, unless it completely blows my mind. But we shall see. But that is all I have for you right now. And I will see you all very, very soon. Hello, happy Tuesday. I'm here to do an update. I was filming my weekly vlog clip, so I figured I might as well do an update here. I did start Emerald Blaze last night. I am this far through. I am on page 130, and that is 7 chapters in. So I have definitely made some good progress. Not as much as I wanted to make last night, but I ended up crashing just after 8 o'clock. And then was woken up at midnight and was like, oh crap, I fell asleep while reading. But that's okay. I figured out where I was and finished the chapter, and then I went back to bed. So I am very intrigued. I'm very excited to see where this is going. I want to say this is like 6 months later is what it was. But there are... in the first 3 books, we go to the pit a few times, which is like a wastrel area in Houston where a lot of like the criminal types and the, I just lost what they're called. The like, when the people who get infected by magic and turn like animalistic and mage warped or magic warped or whatever, a lot of those people kind of stay there because they can kind of hide and eat anybody who goes in there. So there is a group of 5 or 6 houses that are trying to do a reclamation project of the pit, and one of them is Landor. He's in the prologue. Lander Morton. His son Felix was one of the houses and kind of taking point on this reclamation project, and their house had been putting in the most amount of money. While he is killed, and Montgomery Investigations is doing the investigation, but Linus finds a connection to what's going on with the Osiris serum stuff, and he tells Catalina that she needs to go and she needs to basically take the case, and what that means is that she will have to show Augustine that she is the deputy warden. And he's just like, he's got that like cat who ate the canary grin when she's forced to say this, and she's like, I know you know the deal. I don't want to get into it. Let's just move on. And he's like, no, you need to give me the rigmarole. And then she gives the whole like elaborate speech. Like, think of like the Miranda rights kind of a thing, but not like Miranda rights, but just like a set thing that they have to say when they're taking control over a case. And I just loved it. I enjoy Augustine. He's kind of funky at times, but I just enjoy him. He's a fun side character. But so she ends up taking over the case, and she's going to be looking into who murdered Felix. And Alessandro pops back up. His father was friends with Lander, and he has hired Alessandro not only to be his new proxy in this setting, but to basically kill whoever it was that killed Felix. And we find out things have changed. He is a lot different. He is opening up. He is answering questions, and he kind of tells Catalina that he basically has turned into this killer, and she had noticed the way that he talked about assassins was very much like me versus them, and not like he was a part of the assassin people. And she now knows that assassins know who he is, because he is the guy who kills assassins. And he has been doing this because when he was 10 years old, his father was the best man at a wedding, and assassin Archon was poised to kill the groom of this wedding, and his father jumped in the way, and his father had died instead. So Alessandro has basically been chasing Archon for all of his life. And we don't exactly know 100% what happened, but Catalina kind of puts together that they had a confrontation. Alessandro did not win. And so this is another way for him to come after Archon, because he was the mastermind behind a lot of the Osiris serums being taken, and there's something with the Osiris serum in this case, and he was like the kingpin of the assassins group that they had to deal with in the previous book. So he is after him, and he is now coming after Catalina and her family, because not only is she on this case, but now there's going to be that association with Alessandro, and on top of being the deputy and trying to recollect the Osiris serums. So things are already getting freaking crazy. We do get Nevada in here. Nevada is back. Connor is out of town. He's helping find a friend or something that was kidnapped or disappeared. But Nevada's pregnant. She's like 8 months pregnant or something crazy, or very close to 9 months pregnant. And I'm just like, it was so nice seeing Nevada and her still being a part of the family, because I was kind of nervous because they talked about separating themselves from the Rohan house, which is Connor's house, and the way that she just, like, she separated because House Baylor needed to show its independence and that it wasn't just a subset of his house, but she's still a part of the family. And I loved her being there for Catalina, and I loved her, like, not even having to be asked to sit in on a meeting, and she's still there to support her family as best as she can. And I love them all together, and I hope nothing weird or bad happens with her giving birth. I hope we get to see that in this book. Man, I love this series, and I'm loving Catalina. We do kind of hear that after the end of Sapphire Flames, she was very heartbroken and depressed for quite a while. And, you know, she did her best to move on, but there's still a lot of hurt there because, you know, I mentioned this in her previous book, but she doesn't open up to people very often because it's very hard for her to really control her magic when she wants somebody to like her in a genuine way. And that was kind of really the first real relationship that she has had with somebody. And for him to basically leave and tell her that he's never going to come back and he's not going to lie to her, and then just basically go ghost, it hurt her. It hurt her a lot because when she showed up and saw that he was leaving, she was coming there to tell him that she loved him. So, poor Catalina. Oh my gosh, my heart. But I cannot wait to see what's going on. She is now being forced to work with Alessandro to figure out this case, and he kind of pulls logic out of his head, and he's like, if I remember correctly, that bodyguard contract didn't have an end date, so I'm still your bodyguard. And he is also very abrupt and upfront about the fact that he really just wants to protect her because he doesn't want Arkan to take her too. So I think once he can kind of show that he's in it for the long run, and Catalina can kind of peel back that hurt a little bit and those walls that she's put up after being hurt so badly, I think it'll be really good. But I cannot wait to see what happens. I'm very excited. We got a lot of new people, a lot of new houses that we're dealing with, which is also fun. So I definitely can't wait to read more tonight. But otherwise, that is all I have for you today. And I will update maybe once I hit halfway or 2/3 through. It depends on how much I read tonight, because I could just see myself just finishing this in one go and then letting you know once I finished it. But I will be back once I have more to report on Emerald Blaze. I'll see you soon. Hello. Happy Wednesday. It is about 4:30. I got off work early today because I went in early today, and I have some book things to update. So I will try to be as concise as I can, but we have a lot to get to. So last night I finished Emerald Blaze. 5 stars. Holy freaking crap. Oh my gosh. So I know it was only like 130 pages, which is crazy because that's where my bookmark is, and I just stuck it in randomly when I finished it. But oh my gosh, this book, Catalina, is such a freaking badass. I am so impressed by her, and I love her. I love the way that she's really stepping into the role as a head of house. Oh my gosh, it's been so good. So what we find out what happened is one of the people in this reclamation project is an animator, so they create constructs which are magical. There's like a magical center, and they keep metal pieces together and they form them, like usually the ones that we see in here are in like animal shapes, and then they're like, think almost kind of like golems from like D&D or Jewish mythology, where they're just like magically created and they all have a purpose. So this woman had created a kraken and put it in the swamp, and it was hopefully to help kind of clear things out. However, she stuck the Osiris serum in it, so it has now, and come to find out, a human brain was also shoved in it, so it has now become sentient, and that's supposed to never ever happen. And so it's like, when Catalina learns all this, it's like, I have to destroy this thing, but because he can repair himself, she has to destroy every little thing else that he's created that's become a part of his matrix. And it's like this huge deal, because if any tiny little part of his matrix is left alive, then he can regenerate himself. And this thing is like growing as large as the pit, and it's like, it's kind of like terrifying what's happening. And also to kill this lady, because she has this knowledge, and anyone that she shared this knowledge with needs to also die, because this thing will destroy the world and destroy humanity. Like, this is a huge deal. And the way that she manages to defeat this, oh my gosh, and she's fighting this, and while she's fighting this, when she's getting ready to head to the pit, Nevada's water breaks. So Nevada is going into labor, and Catalina has to go fight this thing. And there's a point where she's just like, I will give every drop of my magic and of myself into this to defeat this thing, because if he destroys humanity, he's going to go and destroy my baby nephew, who is being born as I speak. And it just was so, it was so cinematic. There was so much going on. And Alessandro was there, and holy crap, we got to see his house spell. Holy freaking crap. And can I just say, I freaking called it. I freaking called it. His family he's been cut out from his family, basically, and his family has been bankrupt, and all of the money that he earns, he sends to his mom and his sisters. Maybe 2 sisters. I can't remember if he has 1 or 2. But, and so they are having enough to just like keep themselves comfortable and living. And he just keeps what he needs. And so it's not even a thing for him to marry into her family and take her name. To like give up his house. And it's just like, and he's so worried that she's not going to want him, because he's not going to have all of that. And then we find out that, and then she finds out that her freaking grandmother knew that when she made Catalina make that deal, she already knew that he was like excommunicated, or excised is what they call it. So I'm just like, this freaking Grandma Victoria, she's just playing everybody again. And oh my gosh. And there was like a come to moment where Catalina is talking with Nevada about what happened when Nevada split and basically abdicated head of household to Catalina. And there were things that, you know, she was trying to be a big sister and still kind of be the head of the family and say some things to Catalina, and it hurt, and she basically had to be open with Nevada and be like, you really hurt me, you really hurt the family, I understand why you had to do it and why it had to come across that way, now that we know why you were doing things as you were. But here is everything that I know that was going on that you did not tell us was going on, that I learned from Grandma, and she was behind it all. I don't know if this woman is doing it intentionally or not, but oh my gosh. And then when she comes out and she's just like, I know you're worried about me associating with her, but we can't just come at her because then she will hit us. So I'm going to slowly just do a layer every time, a layer, she called it a web, and just like slowly add a little bit every time I go and see her, and eventually we will have the key to taking her down. And I was just like, Catalina, oh, she's in it for the long game. That is for sure. I I love this. I cannot wait for Ruby Fever at the end of freaking August. I've got like a month and a half to wait. Oh my gosh. I cannot wait to talk to everybody about these books on Friday. Oh, it's going to be a great live show for sure. So 5 stars if I had not said this. So because of the craziness of how it ended, I am going to use this for the GM prompt, which is Joe Sakic, and so he was either 19, a character named Joe, or a character that pulls off something crazy, and I'm gonna do the entire last battle as a character that pulls off something crazy, because I don't know how she managed to make it work, but she did, and she got all of the matrices, and it was so freaking cool. So this is working for GM, so we are almost out of bingo at this point. Outside of other book news, I started the audiobook today for Persuasion. I meant to start it yesterday, and I totally spaced that I needed to get it read by tomorrow, Thursday, but that's okay. I am just over 40% through the audiobook, and I'm enjoying this. This is my first Jane Austen, and it's been a while since I've read something that was historically written. I tried to speed it up to like 1.25 just to see how that was, but then I just had to put it back at the normal 1.0 speed because I wasn't with the different type of, and with the different flow of language as she wrote it. It was harder for me to kind of really retain a lot of stuff. So but even then, I struggle with audiobooks because I don't retain as much information, even if I just sit there and I focus on the audiobook. So I'm still enjoying it, but I think this is a good way for me to get through it though, because it's a lot harder, or it's a lot, I feel like if I was reading it in ebook or in paper, it'd be a lot easier to set it down. But with audio, it just keeps playing. So I'm just along for the ride, you know? But I'm definitely enjoying it. And I'm ready for kind of the romance to kind of really start coming back into it. There was a lot of setup for what happened in the past. And then when it gets to Anne and Captain Wentworth's relationship, it's like pretty glossed over. It goes by pretty quickly. It's more like we're told that they had this grand love affair that lasted a few months and they were set to be married, and then she was convinced to not marry him. So it went by very quickly, which I was like, if we were like, I was mostly surprised because there was so much setup before they even meet of Captain Wentworth just renting the house where he was staying, kind of a thing. And I was like, why did we spend so much time with these people when we didn't even really get to spend at least the same amount of time with them in the past? So I'm worried I won't feel as connected to them as they reconnect, but they have reconnected. So I'm intrigued to see how they have re-met each other, but their romance hasn't been restarted. So I'm intrigued to see how this is going to kind of transform. And I know I've seen lots of Jane Austen movies, and it's been a very long time since I've seen movies or TV shows. It's been a very long time since I've seen anything Persuasion. So I'm excited to, once I finish this, try to watch the new Netflix Persuasion as soon as it's out. So I'm 40% through that. And then other book news, I will be picking up Pipe Dreams tonight. I need to do my tarot spread because tonight's the full moon in Capricorn, but then I will be picking up Pipe Dreams and I will be reading via ebook the rest of the night. And then if I, you know, when I do brush my teeth and my face and do all my nighttime stuff, I'll put the audiobook back on. But I'm just gonna try to stick to the ebook as much as I can and get through as much as I can of Pipe Dreams. And that is book 3 in Sarina Bowen's Brooklyn Bruisers. So that is 2 of my TBR planned books. At least one is almost halfway done and one I plan to start tonight. So we will see how far I get through Pipe Dreams tonight, but I will update you if anything crazy happens. So I will see you all very soon. Hello, happy Thursday. I have some updates that we have to get to, as well as the screaming kitty. But are you surprised? So, on today, I finished the audiobook of Persuasion by Jane Austen. I'm going to give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is the first Jane. I thought I had read her before, but according to my Goodreads, I haven't. So I'm just going to say, I don't know. I feel like I might have read her, but maybe it was... No, we read Wuthering Heights in college. It wasn't Jane Austen. So I've read other classics, but I haven't read Jane Austen before. I've always wanted to try her books for sure because I love her movies and she's our like queen romance, or the original romance queen. But I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars and 1 screaming kitty. Come here. I swear, she wants attention. Come here. Right here. Come here. Come in. Really? You're gonna turn the light off? I swear, guys. I swear. Oh, see, I'm sorry for making a mess of stuff. Can you tell the people you're sorry? Come here. Say hi. Say hi. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm naughty. Yeah. Oh, you're stuck on my cardigan. Okay. But anyway. So I definitely enjoyed it. I was laughing quite a bit, and I don't know why. I just didn't feel like she had a lot of humor in her books, but maybe it's just me. But I was chuckling quite a few times today at work when I was listening to it. And I mean, I overall really enjoyed it. I do have to say, I know I touched base before on feeling like when Anne and Captain Wentworth's relationship was established in the beginning of what happened 8 years ago, it was kind of glossed over and very quickly ran through. And I felt the same through the rest of the book. Like, we see a couple moments where they talk at like a route or a dinner or something like that, but there's no like real... Like, the most romantic thing that happens is when he hears, or there's rumors that she's going to marry her cousin. I'm holding you actively. You're still whining. I swear. Now she's purring. But he basically writes her saying that he still loves her, and the letter has some very, very swoony words, and I was just like, oh, it's so sweet, I love it. But you know, I mean, stick me with an epistolary anything and I'm happy. Yeah. You want all of my attention, don't you? Yeah. But I really enjoyed it. I just wish that we saw more moments between Anne and Captain, because I wish we saw them more together. That's it. I mean, really. So, I mean, that's all I really wanted more from the book. Oh my gosh, you are knocking all of my papers over. I swear. She just intentionally batted my freaking notes off. Every day when I film, she just like freaks out because she's not getting attention. But that's okay. Anyway, we will move on. She's finally laying down. She's patting, but she's laying down. I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. It was a really nice... I definitely am happy that I chose to pick up the audiobook, because I feel like it would have been a little bit more of a slog to get through just language-wise. And once I kind of got into it, there's still a couple of times where I was just like, who's talking right now? And a lot of the and sometimes some of the people would like just talk forever. So I didn't realize like if it was like, I was like, did we switch people or is this still the same person kind of a thing? So there was a couple of times like that but I know that's more because it is like a classical type of writing. So I don't dock it for that at all. But I'm glad that I have finally officially read a Jane Austen, and if I pick up any others, I definitely will probably be picking up an audiobook instead of reading it in an ebook or physically. For my bingo board, I am going to be using this for my forward position for Gabriel Landeskog. He's number 92, aka Landy. He is the captain, and his prompts were either 92... I have my notes that she knocked over. He is either 92 or a character that's a leader or a father. So I'm going to go with Captain Wentworth because he's the captain in the military. So he is a leader. So I will use that for him. Other reading wise, other books, I am 58% through Pipe Dreams by Sarina Bowen. And I am struggling a little bit with this. The writing is fine. There's still the tiny little nitpicks I have about hockey in it. But here, it's a second chance romance. And these are two second chance romances that I was reading at the same time. I'm not the biggest fan of second chance romance. But here is my biggest issue. I guess let me tell you about it. So Mike Beacon... It's either Beacon or Deacon. I think it's Beacon. He is the goalie for the team, and his wife, they got pregnant when they were very young. I think he was 18. They got married, and then she basically turned into a stay-at-home mom because hockey players travel. And then he was traded to the team in Brooklyn. They were very much not like soulmates, and he caught her sleeping with her tennis instructor, and then they were getting a divorce. They do have a little girl, and Lauren's father used to be the GM for the Brooklyn Bruisers, and he basically was like, I'm not going to pay for you to go to college. You can work if you want the money to go to college. So she got a job. It sounds like she was taken advantage of heavily, you know, paid the lower wage, but asked to do all this extra work. But she loved hockey and she loved being around the team. But her and Mike formed a friendship because she was working in the front office, and with him being the captain at that time, they had a lot of instances where they would need to talk about different things going on with the organization, and they became very quickly fast friends. But there was also kind of a undertone that they both were very into each other, attracted to each other, or however you want to say it. No actions were taken, but when he gets a divorce, he moves out of his house and he is filing for a divorce with his wife. Obviously, it doesn't happen overnight, and he waits a week and then he makes his move, and they were together for a year and a half. And they were planning, and this was when the Brooklyn Bruisers were in Long Island, and then they were moving to Brooklyn, I think. They were still in the New York area. But they were looking, Lauren and Mike were looking at places to move into, apartments around where the team was going to be moving to. At this point, when Nate bought the Brooklyn Bruisers, he had fired a bunch of people, but Lauren he actually kept, but he moved her to his corporate office for his like business where he makes all of his money. And so she basically is his CEO executive assistant over there. And then he hired somebody else to be his assistant for the hockey team. But anyway, she basically what happens, and I will kind of spoil it because she does find out about it by the time I'm at the point I am at. But she, from her end, they're looking at apartments. They're trying to figure out what they want to do. He seems standoffish one night, and then next thing she knows, he calls and tells her that he can no longer see her. He's moving back in with his wife because she is sick, and he needs to take care of her. Now, what was happening is his wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, got ovarian cancer, was very, very sick. It seemed like it was pretty, like stage 3 or stage 4, that it didn't take very long. It was pretty far advanced when she was diagnosed, and she had most of the custody of their daughter at that point, just because she was still in the bigger house and all that. So he moves back in because his daughter is struggling, and his ex-wife needed somebody to help take care of her and make sure things were getting done in the house. And his option to be there for them was to drop Lauren, basically ghost her after that one phone call, and not end up divorcing his wife. So, a very tough situation. But here's my issue. He is not done groveling at all. At all. He's being charming. He's buying her flowers. He's trying to woo her. It has been 8, I think, years since this all happened. Or 8 years is how long they've known each other. But it's been several years since this all happened. And he's not groveling. And there's a point where he sits next to her on the plane to kind of force a conversation with her. Because since she works at the corporate office, she's not really around the hockey team anymore, which is how she prefers it. Even though, you know, she grew up with a dad who was a hockey player and then in management. And she slept and breathed, oh my gosh, my brain. It was hockey all the time. She loved hockey. She loved rooting for her guys. And she says in there, she calls them her boys, which is what I call I call the Avs my boys. But so I get it. I get it. And she basically cut that all out because it hurt too much. And there's a point where he says something on this plane where he like doesn't realize he hurt her, and he was hoping by just breaking it off with her, she will move on and find somebody else. And she's just like, what? And then he says something kind of crass, and she kind of snaps at him and lets her anger out a little bit, because she is still very angry with him years later. And then she spends, I think, like half an hour in the plane bathroom hiding from everybody because she's crying, and she doesn't want anybody to know she's crying. In my heart, guys. And then he's charming, and he kind of apologized, and he kind of tried to explain to her what was going on, but he's not groveling, and he's not really recognizing or trying to amend or help the fact that he hurt her so deeply. Like, there's a point where they were about to kind of get jiggy with it, because they both were like drinking, and the tension is still there between them. And I was just so frustrated. I was like, please do not. It was around, like, it was right before 50-ish%. I was like, it's too early. I don't know. And she, in that moment where I got frustrated, I was just like, don't do it. Don't do it. I was like, he has not groveled. He has not apologized enough. He still does not understand how deeply he hurt her. Even though he knows that he hurt her, he doesn't quite understand how much she is just shattered inside and doesn't trust anybody. She hasn't dated anybody else since him. And she just... I mean, it was completely out of the blue for her. He told her nothing. He didn't even give her the truth that his ex-wife was terminal, or soon-to-be ex-wife, because she's not actually his ex-wife, because they never got divorced. So, I'm really frustrated at the situation, and I understand that his situation is horrible, but I don't... There was a way that, like, everyone could be there and still be a part of things, I feel like. Okay, I didn't make a phone call, or I got a phone call, so I am back. But pipe dreams, yeah, I'm struggling with the fact that he's not really groveling yet. And they've slept together once. And he keeps like finding ways to be around her. And that's cute. And I enjoy their banter. But there's just a whole other layer of it. And Lauren is 32. And she is preparing. And as of where I am now, she is just about done taking fertility treatments, and she wants to be a mom, and so she's going to be artificially inseminated. And when they're on like the beach, because they're in the playoffs and they're in Tampa Bay, which was fun, he asked her to like watch her bag or something, and she goes to get a drink or something like that, and her bag falls over and a pill bottle pops out, and he looks up what it is because he's worried that she's sick too after dealing with his wife, and he sees it's a fertility drug. So then he kind of tries to piece things together, and then he's like, "Are you dating someone? If I knew you were dating someone," and he's like freaking out, and she says, "No, I'm gonna have a baby scientifically." And then he's like, I'll do it. I'll be the daddy." And she's just like, whoa, take a step back. And I kind of felt the same way. I was just like, dude, you gotta grovel first. She doesn't trust you. And I'm kind of disappointed that there hasn't really been any groveling yet. And I know I keep saying this. I understand his situation was hard, but it really bothers me that he's really not understanding how hurt she was. And so, I mean, there better be a really damn good grovel at this point, because otherwise I can see myself giving this, I don't know, the writing style is good and it flows really nicely, so I don't see myself giving this anything less than a 3-star, but I feel like at this point it's probably going to be a 3 or a 3.5, because, I mean, the way that the situation is set up, for me, what I would need is there to be a lot of grovel, and then a lot of, like, grovel and a lot of tough discussions between them where they both open up about what they went through, and so she can kind of understand why he made the decisions they made, even though in my opinion that wasn't the right decision, and he didn't handle the situation correct either. But there's only like 40% left, and I don't know if I'm going to feel like everything was worked out enough for me to believe in the HEA at this point. I'm just so frustrated with it. And this is why I'm not a big fan of second chance romances. They have to be, and I feel like this way it kind of works. Off the top of your head, it kind of works. You know, he was gonna leave his wife, they were getting divorced, they started a new relationship, he went back to his wife because she's dying of cancer, and he needed to be there to help take care of her. However, if it had said for medical insurance or something like that, I would have been like, okay, they're not, Alexa dismiss, they're not getting married or they're not getting divorced yet, but they're not together as a couple. But he wasn't together with her as a couple, and he could have still been seeing Lauren or taken a break or something. And I'm sorry, but Lauren loved him. She would have been more than happy to, you know, cool down and not feel like she had to be priority at the time. I'm sure it would have grated on her, but with the situation, he needed to talk to her, and once again, he needs to talk to her, and she needs to really kind of open up a little bit and tell him how much he hurt her and how much she has changed her life because of what he did to her. So yeah, I'm frustrated, but I just want to get it done. I mean, at that point, I just need to get it done. I want to get through it. I'm kind of getting I had to put it down a couple of times last night and just be like, okay, I need to do something else, because I just was getting, it was just as unbelievable to me. I don't care how turned on you are by this guy. I don't care how good the chemistry is. If someone hurt me that freaking deeply and then there was no closure whatsoever, and then they came in and yeah, he's trying to be charming and win her over, and it's just rubbing me wrong. And a couple of times she has responded closer to how I feel like she should respond in the situation. So I have been pleasantly surprised a couple of times where I'm like, oh, I'll just put it down and pick it up later. But I'm like, no, finish the chapter. And then she, on like a couple of pages later, she reacts how I wanted her to react. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. It's fine. We're going. Oh, man, I struggle, guys. I struggle with second chance romance. And this isn't like some boneheaded thing and then a week or 2 weeks later he's back. It has been years. And yeah, okay, he assumes that she's moved on and she's over it, but that doesn't mean she wants to be with you again. Just because she's not dating anybody right now doesn't mean that you have a free pass to kind of, there was a scene where she comes in and he's in her hotel room and he's like setting stuff up to have a nice night. And she's just like, why are you here? Leave. And in my head, I was like, no, you need to be firm. You need to tell him to leave. And then he wanders off in this area and wanders off in this area. And in my head, I'm going, no, what she needs to, if he will not leave, she either needs to call Nate or call the captain or call somebody to help kind of, who knows the situation between them, and be there as a buffer, because she was not mentally able to handle his, I want to say assault, but it's more like assault on her senses and not like an assault, but just him being there and pushing in a way that she wasn't ready for. And I don't know, it just bothered me. Or she should have gone in the bedroom, gone in the bathroom, and shut and locked the door and said, and if he would have tried to talk her out of it, you need to leave. If you do not leave, I am sleeping in here. I don't want to see you. I don't want to sleep with you. And she does kind of snap back at him a couple of times, but then she gives in anyway. And I'm just like, I don't need this. I just don't see how their relationship can move forward positively without dealing with all this baggage between them first. And he's kind of pushing to just pick back up, so to speak, and the work needs to be done. And I feel like at this point, unless there is a time jump or something like that, the work that I feel should be done isn't going to be done. But maybe I'll be pleasantly surprised. We shall see. But, alright, I'm done rambling at you. I just had to come back and finish getting through all my thoughts about it. And we will see. Hopefully I will finish tonight. It is about 8:30. I need to watch tonight's episode of Big Brother. And then I probably will spend the rest of the night reading in bed. So we'll see. If it's frustrating me still, it might take me a little bit longer. But I just want to get it over with. That's where I'm at right now. We just gotta get it done. But anyway, I will be back to update you once I have something more to say about pipe dreams. See you soon. Hello, happy Friday. I'm here to make another update. Last night I did finish Pipe Dreams by Sarina Bowen. So, I went on a very long rant yesterday about struggling with this book. But I got it done. And I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. I There wasn't really anything else mentioned about the previous hurts. They didn't really sit down and really hash anything out. Really, what kind of focused the rest of the book was him wanting to know if she's pregnant and she being like, it's too early, let's not. And then they slept together again. And he noticed she was upset about something, and she had gotten her, she'd like finished this round of fertility medicine, and she got a, like, it was time, like you have to, like, I guess pee on a stick or something, and it tells you, it gives you a happy face, and that means it's time to go in and get inseminated. And it's like, you need to do it ASAP. And she was out of town because she was traveling with the team on an away game. And she was like, I'll be home in 2 days. And they're like, you don't want to chance it with how expensive the semen is. It'd be best to just wait for next month, so you get your best odds of it working. And she kind of opens up to him about this. And then she doesn't plan on sleeping with him, and then it kind of starts to happen, and then he's like, no condom, and she says yes. So I get it. She wants a baby. She really, really wants a baby. And then he bothers her for like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks or something, asking her if she knows if she's pregnant yet. And she's talking about how she's feeling all these changes, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure pregnancy doesn't work that quickly. I know your hormones do, but I don't know. It was interesting. But, and then there was a little bit of conflict because his daughter really hated Lauren because she didn't really understand what her parents' relationship was at the time and how it ended. So she didn't know that her mom was cheating, and that's what caused the divorce. She thought Lauren caused the divorce. And then there was letters delivered in the beginning of the book that was like supposed to be delivered a year after she passed, and it was like a couple of paragraphs for Mike saying, I'm sorry that our daughter's gonna be upset, but I needed to tell her everything I could, and if you still have a chance, try to go after her again. And she left it vague, but you could tell she was like, if she will have you, you need to go after Lauren. And her daughter, she basically opened up to her daughter in this letter, talking about how the real relationship between her parents and all this stuff. And, you know, she mentions at some point that she used to hear the other hockey wives make fun of Lauren and talk bad about Lauren and talk bad about her mom, and her mom wasn't happy in the situation, being almost forced to be a stay-at-home mom. And we never really quite got too much of what actually went down there, but I don't know. And then that was it. And then there was like an 8 months later thing, and they talk about getting married. And it just really bothers me that they didn't have any of the hard conversations. And it makes me not fully believe or fully trust in their relationship. Because I feel like, you know, there are some things you can't just brush under the rug, and this is one of them. And I don't know, it's hard for me to believe in the HEA with them never really working through that. And there's one point where she's upset about something, or she mentions how, you know, it took her 2 years to even begin to process her feelings and move on just by herself, not with another person, but just move on emotionally. And I'm like, 2 years of hurt and pain. I'm like, this doesn't just go away. I don't care how much you want to have a baby. How can you trust him? I don't know. This is why I struggle with second chance romances. But yeah, so 3.5 stars. I am going to use this to cover the prompt for Coach, which is Jared Bednar, and that is his number is 22, and it's character that's a coach, or I have my list. Oh, a character that's calm under pressure, which is pretty much a goalie mentality, so I'm going to use the calm under pressure for this. So I technically have a bingo now. The top 3 squares are covered. And I've read 4 books so far. So this is I'm doing really good. I'm doing really good. I'm pretty happy with it. So later tonight, I have a couple things I need to do. I'm working on my mid-month wrap-up right now that's exporting, and then I will get that uploaded for tomorrow. I also need to catch up on a couple of book reviews and also need to work on a couple other things tonight, but I'm hoping at the very least I'll be able to start my next book. And I was going to do my spinner wheel, but I decided because I need to fulfill a prompt for the Ripped Bodice Summer Bingo for Halloween, I'm going to pick up my Halloween Heartbreak by Melanie Ting. This is book 2 in her holiday hat trick series. It is, even though it's a Halloween book, it is a full-length novel. It's just over 300 pages. So I will be starting this tonight, hopefully, or early tomorrow. I'm going to try to read at least 2 more books. I want to do this one, and I want to do a book on the spinner wheel. And then the next book I need to read is the main Rake Appreciation Society book, because that will be next Wednesday. So I need to also at least start that Sunday. But depending on how far I get, I might also count it for this too. So we shall see. But I'm just chugging along, and I'm getting a lot of books read this week, which is good. It's been a really, it was a really good start to the reading week with all of the Ilona Andrews. But man, these second chance romances just, I'm hoping this Melanie Ting will kind of keep me from getting a little bit slumpy. It helps that it's a new author and a new setting, and we'll see how it goes, but I will let you know when I have something more to update about it. I'll see you all soon. Hello, happy Sunday. Today is the last day of my Hockey Champions Readathon, and I have finished another book. I haven't had a chance to do an update, but it is finished. So I started yesterday and finished this morning My Halloween Heartbreak by Melanie Ting. This is the second book in her holiday hat trick series, and I'm going to give this 4 stars. Now, I put this on here because I knew it was going to be more like beer league hockey, and while that is a little bit in here, I think it's more prevalent in the first and third book, because we meet the hero from the first book in here, and he like runs the local beer league hockey, and then one of the guys that runs it with him, his name is Ian. He used to be a professional player in the AHL, and he's the hero for book 3, which is a Christmas book. So, and the first one was a Valentine's Day book. So this one didn't have very much hockey, although there is a little bit. But this is Sophia and, oh my gosh, they call him Mac, and his last name is McDonald. I can't remember his first name. Let me look. McDonald. Henry. His name is Henry. I remembered before it loaded. But, so, they are like best friends, childhood neighbors kind of a situation. Although once they kind of hit high school, they kind of grew apart, because one day Sophia went over to hang out with Henry, and he was all like flustered when he answered the door and was like, I'm really busy right now. And then there was another girl there, and I can't remember, maybe it was late middle school, but it was like great, you know, preteen, early teenager years. And so he had a girlfriend or a potential girlfriend over, and Sophia just kind of felt weird in that situation. And there's a moment where she rings his doorbell present day, and she's just like, I haven't rang his doorbell since that happened when we were like 12 years old or whatever. But she has had a crush on him for most of her life, and he is the one of the main songwriters and the keyboard person for a indie rock band. And they've just been best friends since they grew up, but since they kind of separated, they weren't really friends in high school, so they didn't really know too much of what each other's high school experiences were. I mean, she practically stalked him, but in her cute, I have a crush on you and your next door neighbor and we used to be best friend way. So she noticed when things would happen with him in high school. They just weren't as close as they were when they were kiddos. But he is struggling to write songs. He's lost his muse, and the label that his band is currently signed with is declaring bankruptcy and getting rid of a bunch of people, and eventually will be gone. So they don't really have the support for marketing or a manager or anything like that. It's just the members and then a little groupie guy who kind of turned into their manager. So they decide to take a hiatus and everybody can go home, and all of them go back to Toronto, but Henry comes back to Ottawa, which is where he's from and where this mainly is set. So it is set in Canada. And this is their romance, and they are definitely friendly. They're both kind of pining for each other, or she's still pining for him. He feels like he's not good enough for her, and she thinks she's not good enough for him just because she sees him as this rock star. And while he's an indie rock star and he is known, he's not famous. And so she feels like she's not good enough for him, but she is a litigator who also donates and volunteers law advice and stuff like that in her free time. But it was really cute. I really enjoyed it. I didn't know really what was going to get in. I was expecting more of Halloween to play a role, but it is when they re-meet. So when Henry comes back to town, he doesn't have a job, and all he really wants to do and excels at is music. So he is at night doing Lyft driving, and he's driving Halloween night, and Sophia goes with her boyfriend Elliot to a party that Elliot's friends are hosting, and she had a really bad day at work. She got taken off a really large case, and she's kind of like me, where she's just like, I don't want to have to go out and do all these parties and do all these things. I just want to stay home or go hang out with my small group of friends. And she was just like, I'd rather go hang out with them. And it's a themed Halloween party, and she doesn't have any costumes. It's movie themed. So, but she has a Pikachu costume from a children's hospital thing that she did. So she goes as Pikachu, and he rags on her, and she expects that once she gets there, he will kind of ditch her to network because he's into that, and she just kind of feels awkward just standing next to him while he networks. But she ends up trying to find a restroom that she can use, and she hears two people making sex sounds in the bathroom, and then a woman walks out, and then 30 seconds later Elliot walks out. So she breaks up with him and she leaves, and she is standing basically on the side of the road, and it starts raining in her Pikachu costume. She still hadn't gone to the bathroom, and Henry ends up being her Lyft driver, and then he cancels it because he doesn't want to charge her. And then they stop and they go, and he drops her off somewhere where she can go to the bathroom, and he takes her home, and that really starts their reconnection. And then they start kind of hanging out together more and more and rekindle that friendship, although it very quickly turns into more. Now, I was kind of worried because he very famously dated a lady rock star who is a lot like more famous than he is. She's like you think like Kelly Clarkson famous, or Carrie, like you say her name and at least everybody knows who she is, and not maybe if they don't listen to her music, they at least know who she is. And they were publicly dating, and then there was this interview where he was asked, oh, what happened? She's now dating this other dude, and that's when he found out that she's with this other dude. So it was like super duper crazy, and he was very butthurt by it. So when they come back, there is a little bit of other woman drama because he does get an option to write songs for her and her band. And so there's like Instagram pictures of him and, you know, his co-writing partner and her and her band and her producer. And so Sophia knows that he's with her in Toronto, and then her long-term plan is to become a judge. And so she kind of freaks out a little bit, and then she tells herself, if I'm going to be a judge, I need to wait and hear his side of the story before I make any judgments, kind of a thing. And she's very level-headed, keeps her head about all things. She's very like straightforward. She cracks me up. She can't cook at all. All she has in her cupboard is like cup noodles. It's like so cute. And then like all over her fridge is condiments. And I'm like, she's just the cutest little girl. And she's not a little girl, but you know, she's super cute. And she is half Japanese, and her father isn't in the picture. I believe her father passed away. So she was raised by her mother and her grandmother. And her grandmother actually came over from Japan to move in with her mom to help her take care of her when she was little. So there's definitely a lot of Japanese cultural things, both from immigrant Japanese and just from Japanese Canadians. And it's really funny because there were like little bits every once in a while in Japanese, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But it was weird seeing it like the romanized version of the words, and I was like, oh, that's weird, because a lot of the times when I see Japanese, I see like actual hiragana and katakana, but I'm just like, oh wow. But it's funny when they mention like some of the little things, like when you sit down and itadakimasu, which is what you say before you're eating, which is showing thankfulness for whoever has prepared the meal or set up the meal, kind of a thing. You're showing thanks for the food and for the people who are behind the meal, kind of a thing. And you know, when you're home and tadaima, and it's like I'm home, and little cute things like that threw me back to living with my host family in Japan. And it was like super cool, and it made me feel very nostalgic, which is crazy because also I was looking at my like Google Photos app, gave me memories, and it was 12 years ago I was in Japan already. And actually 12 years ago this weekend I was on a little break, and a friend and I were exploring Kyoto. So that was super cool. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't looked at these pictures in forever. But I really liked it. But there was a little bit of other woman drama, but it wasn't made too much of a deal. What I didn't like is he kind of got so into his music, and when he finally felt the urge to write a song, he kind of left her high and dry right after the first time they got together, which was in the woods behind their high schools against a tree, which was super crazy. And then he just kind of leaves, and when he comes back, she's kind of standoffish, and she's still being friendly because she wants to hear his explanation, because very shortly after that is when he goes to Toronto for this potential songwriting gig. And he kind of realizes, oh my gosh, I didn't think at all about how this was affecting her or what her emotions were about in the situation. And then they kind of end up, I don't know. And then when he comes back, he had told this other girl that she was his girlfriend, even though technically they didn't label it at that point because he left before they could have that conversation. And then, you know, he's a stupid boy and he asked her to be her fake girlfriend. And she's just like, I want to be your real girlfriend, not your fake girlfriend. Goodbye. And I just... And then he has this really cute grovel where he throws a little concert and he gets his famous ex-girlfriend to, like, be a special guest, and they're raising money for the charity organization that she used to donate time to, that she had to pull back from to kind of guarantee that she would get a partner spot at her law firm. And it was like a huge romantic gesture, and it was super sweet, but it felt like too much for what their actual conversation was. So I don't know. It was just kind of slightly fell off. But I enjoyed it. I definitely want to go back and read the first book, and I want to read the third book, because the third book sounds like kind of ish. I don't like fake dating, and they're not enemies, but they're like, they have bad impressions of each other, which is weird because I'm not usually an enemies to lover fan, but I definitely want to read more from Melanie and Ting. So 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. And like I mentioned, I think the first book and the third book will have more of the beer league hockey aspect. But I use this for my defenseman prompt for, I chose Devon Taves, who's number 7. And he is either number 7, an underrated author, or a character that's a great partner. And technically, I would say Sophia would make a really great partner, but I'm going to go with underrated author because I haven't really heard Melanie Ting mentioned at all. And I'm friends with a lot of like BookTube and Bookstagram people on Goodreads, and only one of my friends have at least this series on their have marked or have like noticed this series, and it's just marked as to be read. So none of my friends have read this on Goodreads. So that was kind of crazy to see that nobody's read this, because I know hockey romances, especially a couple years ago, like went through a crazy boom. Although this came out in 2020, so it would have been after the boom. But anyway, besides the fact, I'm going to put it for underrated author because I don't really hear Melanie Ting mentioned or talked about very much. And she also is a Japanese author. She's Japanese Canadian. And so this also has some good diverse representation if you're looking for an Asian, either Asian POCs or Asian authors. And what's funny is a lot of the Asian authors I follow are also Canadian. But anyway, that's beside the fact. So I want to try to pick up one more book. Now, I do need to read the Rake Appreciation Society book for Wednesday, but I'm hoping I can read one more hockey romance before I pick that up. And if I have to, I can pick that up tomorrow and read it tomorrow and Tuesday. I did see that my library has the audio available, so I might pick up the audio for that if I run out of time and listen to that like at work on Wednesday to finish the book. But I think I want to try to do one more hockey romance to really finish out this vlog strong. So, or finish out my readathon strong. So I was looking, at first I looked at what I had. I don't think I'm going to pick up Brooklyn Air. I struggled with Pipe Dreams, and Brooklyn Air is kind of set in the same time period. They kind of overlap each other a little bit, and they overlap slightly with the end of the second book. So I'm going to try to pick up Brooklyn Air next month and use that for my TBR prompt to continue a series, and I'll just stick with the Brooklyn Bruisers, and I'll at least try to get through Brooklyn Air, but then I'm probably going to switch it for the next month. So, but we will see. So I'm not going to be picking up that. At least I don't think so. Who knows? I may pick it up before the end of the month, but I have 4 other authors left on my spinner wheel, and then I also removed Piper Rain because I don't feel like I don't really want to reread her right now. I'm just not in the mood to reread her, so I took her off it. So I have my 4 authors on the spinner wheel. So once again, it's On the Surface, which is the first book of In the Zone by Kate Willoughby. Offside, which is the first book in the Barker Triplets series by Juliana Stone. Dirty Secret, which is Slayer's Hockey #1 by Marilyn Kelly. And Change on the Fly, which is the first book in Totally Pucked by Maren Moore. Now, I did look at the lengths of all of these, and most of them are in the 260 to 270 range, except for Offside. Offside is 222 is what I saw. So I was thinking about picking up that one. Alexa, dismiss. Because it's shorter, but it's really only 30 to 40 pages shorter, which isn't that much of a difference. Like, I mean, it's maybe half an hour-ish, but maybe longer if it's a book I'm struggling with. But I decided I'm just gonna let the spinner wheel decide. But I am slightly leaning towards Offside because it has a female hockey player. But we'll see. If I spin it and I'm not interested in the one it lands on, I might just pick up Offside, because that's how it works sometimes. So let me get it all up here so we can see, and they are doubled, so hello, spin, there we go. We have and the universe says it's Offside, so Juliana Stone, which is Offside, so we're picking up Offside. So cool, perfect, it worked out perfect. So I will be starting Offside. I did get this free because I saw it was free at some point on Amazon, but it might still be free, but definitely take a peek at it. But I'm excited, so I will be picking that up next and letting you know how it goes. But until then, I'll see you all very soon. Hello, I am back. It is Monday night, but I realized I need to film my closing clip for the Hockey Champions Readathon vlog. So last night I did start and finish Offside by Juliana Stone. I really enjoyed this. I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars. First off, Billy Joe. So this is the first book in the Barker Triplets series, and it's Billy Joe, Betty Joe, and Bobby Joe, which is hilarious. But so this is Billy Joe, and she is a female hockey player who played professionally where she could. She went to 2 Olympics. She played at college in hockey, or yeah, hockey in college. She played college in hockey. Oh my gosh. And then she also went to Sweden, and she was one of 4 women to play on a Swedish men's team in the Swedish league, because they are one of the leagues that allows women to join if they pass all the auditions and skill requirements and all of that stuff. But they make the team. And she is home because she has suffered, come to find out, so this is a little bit of a spoiler, she's actually suffered 2 concussions, but we just hear about the one in the beginning. And basically, even though she's all healed and she's been approved, there's a lot of emphasis on the boys club of hockey, and so she basically, they buy out the rest of her contract and send her home because they don't want to risk her getting a 3rd concussion, and that's when there's really issues. So that was kind of sad to see, and she just loves hockey so much, and it's a part of her being. That's what she wants to do. That's her happy places on the ice, even just running drills. And so that was really heartbreaking to see. And then when she gets home, she finds out that there is, they're putting together like a local beer league in town. And so she is like looking at it, and there's a guy there giving her crap about it. And she's just like, I don't see no women. I don't see men only. And so she joins, and this is where I dropped my rating from 5 to 4.5 because it was just over the top. all of the men in town and even a lot of the women, I mean, ostracized her, bullied her. There's a point where her car gets keyed and it says ho and P, the kitty word, and they slash her tires. I mean, it's horrible. And it's the guys, because they feel, I don't know, intimidated by her because she was a professional player and she just wants to play hockey. And they're like, she's trying to infiltrate the guys group kind of a thing. And so some of them are jealous because she's way more talented than them. And then others of them feel like with her being there, that'll ruin the locker room dynamic, or they won't be able to do all the guy things after the game. And she really could care to hoot. She's like, I don't care. I'll dress in the same locker room or I'll go in the closet across the hallway. I just want to play hockey. But then she also misses the camaraderie and the teamwork and going out with a beer with all the guys afterwards, kind of a thing. And so a lot of the guys hate on her for that. And it's not just the guys that play, it's even just random old dudes, and just not all old dudes, but just random dudes in town that, you know, have to say something. And then there's a subsect of women and wives of these guys who are also hating against her because they think she's sleeping with all the guys because she's playing hockey with them. So it was just, I mean, and one of these women is one of her twin sisters, Bobby. The things that she says, and I mean, they have a couple pretty nasty fights, but there was one that had me crying because Billy was just so hurt. And you could tell that it was coming from a hurt place from Bobby too. But the things that she said about Billy and how she needs to grow up, and just talking about hockey and how, I don't know, it broke my heart. And Billy was just too hurt. She couldn't even like stand up and defend herself in the moment. She just froze because she couldn't believe that these words were coming out of anyone's mouth to her, let alone her twin frickin' sister. So that was, oh, it had me crying. It broke my heart. It broke my heart for Billy. But this is her relationship with Logan, who she was basically in love with at varying degrees her entire life. And he's 5 years older. And he also plays on the league, and he owns like a customizing shop in town. So they build custom bikes and cars and things like that. And there's this just like attraction between them that just, you can feel it. It was so well done. All of their intimate scenes were really well done. I really, really enjoyed this. But like I said, 4.5 stars because I felt like the hate on her was a little too over the top. Like, it was just a little too much. Like, I understand the boys not liking it, and maybe the boys' wives, they're uncomfortable with the situation. And it's like, just meet Billy. Just talk to Billy. Have these people. And then it's, I don't know. It felt too over the top. But I do know, because I was looking at some reviews to see what other people thought. And there was a couple girls who were like, I played hockey in college back when, and was one of the few women on a men's team in college. And they had similar experiences. So that just broke my heart even more. Because like, I knew, like, breaking the glass ceiling can cause issues. But it just felt over the top. But to know that a lot of these things maybe weren't exaggerated that much. But it was just a lot, because we have her dealing with this with basically everybody in the town, including her own sister. And then her father is in his early 50s, and he's going through dementia. So, you know, most of the time he doesn't even know who she is, or he thinks she's still in college or something like that. There is a really heartbreaking scene where he's having a good day, and she just sits in silence with him because they just, I don't know, it just, Alzheimer's and dementia and diseases like that are just so terrifying to me. And I couldn't imagine being with a family member who didn't recognize who you were. But, so, there was a lot. See, I'm tearing up just thinking about it. But there was a lot of heavy things going on with Billy. Then we get to her and Logan's relationship. And she, like I said, she crushing to falling in love to like teenage love, like all spectrums from like puppy crush to full on in love with him. And when she was, I want to say 18, he was home from college for, I think, Christmas break, and there was a party. And her sister, Betty Jo, she is, I guess, a model, and so she was planning on going to, this is in the past, to New York, and I think it was about the time they were like graduating high school and stuff. And she was kind of like not the wild child, but she was, I don't know, the stereotypical teenage girl where she's like the pretty girl, and you know, she's just as promiscuous as all the teenage boys. And Bobby Jo, I guess, was like a wild child, and then Billy Jo was hockey girl. And so she was kind of overlooked by a lot of people because she just, all she did was play hockey. So she had this crush on Logan, and her sister rejected him, and he was kind of drunk, and Billy approached him, and he thought she was Betty, and they slept together. He actually took her virginity, and she kept that close to herself. She never really told him. And when he shows up the next day, because it was just this, you know, amazing connection between two people, Billy actually answers. And in her head, this gave me a little bit of Love in the Afternoon vibe. She's just like, it was me, recognize it was me and not my sister. Do you feel this connection that's still between us? And he doesn't. And so she says that her sister has already left for New York, even though she technically leaves a day later. And so her conflict for their relationship is that she doesn't want it to get out that she's sleeping with him and that they're having a relationship because, you know, everybody's already giving her crap for sleeping with all the guys on the team anyway. So then if it comes out that she actually is sleeping with one of the guys, she's nervous about what happens, and he understands that. She also feels really guilty and nervous and is just has a really hard time opening up to him because she knows that she will have to tell him that, and she thinks it's not going to go over well. And then he is freaking out because he doesn't know how to tell her that he slept with her twin sister. So he's freaking out as well. So like I said, it was just a little bit too much angst in a lot of different areas, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I loved Billy. She ends up kind of coaching and giving lessons to some of the kid hockey players around, and I really enjoyed it. I'm intrigued to read the other books. I'm not quite sure what's gonna happen, but I'm definitely intrigued to see what else is gonna happen. So I definitely will look at reading the rest of the Triplets series for sure. But like I said, 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. For my bingo board, I could have used this in a couple of spots, but I figured, why not? I'll put it for the cup. It has an HEA, and technically it's a hockey romance, so I could put it wherever I wanted, but I put it on the Stanley Cup, because why not? It's the final prompt I'm fulfilling, so might as well make it the best of the best. And that is that. So, here is my final bingo board. I got a couple bingos. I got 6 of the 9 spots covered, so I'm very happy about that. Usually when I do, even if I do these smaller boards, I end up only usually reading like 2 or 3 books because I just always end up like finding myself through a slump or something at the beginning of a readathon, but maybe because I planned it, I was like super excited for it and just happy to support my boys. But I don't know, I loved it. I definitely am intrigued. I have been thinking for the rest of the other hockey romances I have on my spinner wheel of maybe adding one in to my monthly TBRs until I've tried all of them, but I haven't quite decided yet. It depends on what my TBR kind of looks like when I sit down and start going through August, but that's a whole other ball game. So I will end it all here. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know if you participated in the readathon. Let me know down below or tag me on any of your Instagram posts. I will definitely share them around. And I just had a lot of fun, and I'm glad I was able to try a couple new hockey themed romances or authors who write hockey romance, as well as finally reading Hidden Legacy. I read a lot of good books this week, so I am very happy about that. But I will see you all very, very soon.